In 1978, a line worker at a Ford assembly plant in Detroit named Soon-hee pulled her first paycheck of the year, $247.13 after taxes. She handed $40 of it to a woman she barely knew. She did not know the woman's last name. She did not sign a contract. She did not ask for a receipt. By December of that year, Soon-hee had saved $1,600 without a bank account, a financial advisor, or a single late fee. That was not luck. That was the system. Korean immigrant families who arrived between 1965 and 1990 built more small businesses per capita than any other immigrant group in American history. They did it on factory wages, cleaning jobs, and corner store margins that most American families would not survive a month on. They did not have access to bank loans. Most did not have credit histories. Many did not speak enough English to read a mortgage document, but they had 20 money rules that almost no one outside their community ever wrote down. Coming up, number 7 reveals what Korean immigrant families did with a broken appliance that most American families would have put on a credit card. Number 14 explains why Korean business owners in Los Angeles kept 2 sets of books and why the second one made them rich. And number 19 reveals the GEH, the informal savings circle that moved millions of dollars through Korean American communities without a single government form. If you lived through the 70s and 80s and you know what it meant to stretch a dollar, subscribe. This channel is made for you. Here are 20 ironclad money rules Korean immigrant families built real wealth on, one factory paycheck at a time. Number 20. The Geh envelope always came first. In 1976, a dry cleaner in Albany Park, Chicago, named Kyung-ja earned $189 a week pressing other people's clothes. Every Friday, before she paid her landlord, before she bought groceries, she put $35 into a plain envelope and left it on her neighbor's kitchen table. That envelope was her Geh contribution. The Geh was a rotating savings circle, 12 women, 12 weeks. Every week, one woman collected the full pot, $420, no interest, no fees, no credit check. Kyung-ja's turn came in week 9. She received $420 in a single afternoon, more than 2 full weeks of wages. She used it to buy a commercial-grade iron for her first side business. The bank did not fund that iron. The Geh did. The rent was paid Friday afternoon. The Geh envelope left Friday morning. The Geh envelope was the savings account that paid dividends in community. Number 19. Every dollar had a designated seat. In 1983, a machinist at a General Motors stamping plant in Baltimore named Jin Soo made $312.47 every 2 weeks. Before he cashed his check, he had a handwritten list in his shirt pocket dividing every dollar before it touched his hand. $40 to the Geh, $85 to rent, $30 to groceries, $20 to his mother in Seoul, $12 to the church offering, $18 for utilities. The remaining $107.47 went into an envelope marked store. He was saving for a dry goods shop he planned to open by 1985. He opened it in 1984, 11 months early. Korean immigrant families in factory towns called it money with a job. When credit cards replaced cash envelopes in the 1980s, the categories disappeared. A dollar without a destination was a dollar that disappeared. Number 18. The first business started inside the house. In 1971, a seamstress in Koreatown, Los Angeles named Myung-suk earned $2.15 an hour at a garment factory on Olympic Boulevard. She took in alterations at night at her kitchen table for $3 per garment, cash only. By 1973, her kitchen table income matched her factory wage. She quit the factory in 1974. Korean immigrant women in Los Angeles ran parallel economies out of residential apartments, sewing, cooking, childcare, tutoring, none requiring a storefront. When California legislators moved to restrict home-based production in 1979, many of those kitchens went underground or converted to sole proprietorships. The first business was never the public business. It was the training ground. The kitchen table was the first boardroom. Number 17. The church was the credit union. In 1979, a deacon at a Korean Baptist congregation in Flushing, Queens, named Pastor Shin, managed a discretionary fund of $4,200. It was pooled from Sunday offerings and private donations. It functioned as a zero-interest loan pool for congregation members. No formal application. A conversation after service, a handshake, and a verbal repayment schedule. The average loan was $340. The default rate, according to a 1994 study by sociologist Pyong Gap Min, was under 3%. Korean immigrant churches functioned as financial institutions for their first 2 decades here. They were where you learned about apartments, job openings, and suppliers willing to extend credit. An IRS ruling in 1986 pushed many of these informal funds into formal structures or dissolved them. The offering plate was the first venture fund. Number 16. The children were the bookkeepers. In 1982, an 11-year-old named Young Jun sat at the register of his parents' corner grocery in East Los Angeles. He was there every day after school until 9 in the evening. He made change, tracked inventory, and recorded every sale in 2 columns, item and dollar amount. He was not paid. He was trained. Korean immigrant children in retail families were functional accountants by middle school, calculating margins, spotting shrinkage, reading supplier invoices before they could drive. As second-generation Korean Americans moved into professional careers in the 1990s, the children went to college, and the register work went to paid employees. The register was the first classroom that paid. Number 15. The supplier relationship was sacred. In 1977, a produce wholesaler named Mr. Han extended 30-day net credit to 11 Korean-owned shops without a credit application. He did it because the owners belonged to the same county association as his wife's family. By 1981, none of them had missed a payment. A broken supplier relationship cost you more than a vendor. It cost Geh membership, church standing, and community access. Corporate supply chains displaced small distributors in the 1990s, and the handshake arrangements disappeared with them. A good supplier relationship was worth more than a line of credit. Number 14. A broken appliance was a business opportunity. In 1984, a homemaker in Anaheim named Haewon's washing machine motor burned out. The repair estimate was $87. A new machine was $340. She paid the $87 and watched the technician closely enough to do the next repair herself. By 1986, she was fixing machines out of her garage. She bought broken units at thrift stores for $10 to $25, repaired them, and resold them for $75 to $110. Korean immigrant households treated broken goods as raw material, not waste. American consumer culture accelerated replacement over repair in the 1980s when warranties shortened and planned obsolescence took hold. The repair economy collapsed. A broken appliance was a tuition-free business school. Number 13. Cash was the system, and the envelope was the structure. In 1975, a tailor in Koreatown named Byung-ho kept his household finances in 7 white envelopes inside a metal box under the kitchen sink. Rent, food, Geh, church, school, emergencies, savings. Every week, When he cashed his paycheck at the corner check cashing store, he divided the bills into 7 stacks before he left the counter. The emergency envelope was never touched for anything that was not a genuine emergency. When it reached $400, $200 moved permanently to savings. Banking deregulation in 1980 made checking accounts more accessible. By the mid-1980s, most Korean immigrant households had shifted to banks. The envelope system lost its physical structure. The categories survived in some households. In many, they did not. 7 envelopes organized more wealth than most financial plans. Number 12, the second job was never optional. It was architecture. In 1981, a factory worker in Detroit named Dae Soo worked the 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. shift at Chrysler's Jefferson Avenue plant. By 3:30, he was behind the counter of his wife's alterations shop. He logged 72 working hours most weeks. His combined household income in 1981 was $31,400. They saved 31% of it. Korean immigrant families in manufacturing cities doubled household income through family labor. The factory job provided stability and health insurance. The family business provided cash flow and equity. Together they funded the Geh, the church tithe, and the business expansion account. The restructuring of American manufacturing in the 1980s and 1990s dismantled this architecture before the second generation could fully inherit it. The second job was not a side hustle, it was the plan. Number 11, education was funded before the child was born. In 1969, a nurse in Los Angeles named Young Soon opened a passbook savings account the month she found out she was pregnant. She deposited $15 every month without exception. By the time her daughter entered UCLA in 1987, the account held $3,247, enough to cover the first year's books and fees with money left. Korean immigrant parents treated college funding as a pre-birth obligation, not a possibility, but a certainty. The expansion of student loans under the Higher Education Act of 1972 normalized borrowing across American households. Korean immigrant families used loans when necessary, but regarded them as failure states. College savings started before the baby had a name. Here is something that does not appear in any American financial history book. A 2018 Federal Reserve report on minority wealth found Korean American households had a median net worth of $247,000. The national median was $97,300. Korean American median household income was $76,800 at the time, 13% above the national median. The wealth gap was nearly 2.5 times larger than the income gap. The difference is not income, it is the system. These 20 rules are the system. Number 10, debt was a public matter, not a private one. In 1977, a shopkeeper in Flushing named Mrs. Park borrowed $800 from a Geh pool to cover an inventory shortfall. When the Geh schedule reached her turn, she had not yet repaid the advance. She stood in front of the group and stated the amount, the reason for the delay, and the exact date she would return it. She repaid it 4 days early. Debt in Korean immigrant communities carried social weight. The community knew who owed and to whom. This transparency created accountability that no interest rate could manufacture. Credit card companies entered immigrant communities in the 1990s with products that made debt invisible. The accountability dissolved when the obligation moved off the kitchen table into a sealed envelope. Debt the community could see was debt that got paid. Number 9. The market stall came before the storefront. In 1973, a woman named Sung-ja sold hand-sewn children's clothes at the Rose Bowl Flea Market in Pasadena every Sunday for $4.50 in booth fees. She grossed $140 on her first day. Her cost of goods was $38. She tested 24 products over 18 months before signing a commercial lease in 1975. Korean immigrant entrepreneurs use swap meets and flea markets as low-risk laboratories before committing to commercial rent. The flea market was market research, customer development, and inventory testing. Zero lease obligation. The original practitioners were long gone before the pop-up era gave the model a new name. The flea market table was the first store with no downside. Number 8. The remittance was a fixed cost, not a choice. In 1974, an auto parts worker in Chicago named Sung-min sent $60 to his parents in Busan every month without exception. His net paycheck was $219, the $60 left before anything else was allocated. He did this for 22 consecutive years. When his parents died, the money he had been sending had funded the construction of a small house his younger brother now owned outright. Korean immigrant workers maintained obligations to South Korean families as fixed costs, not discretionary spending. They were building assets in America and sending resources home at the same time. First-wave immigrants never stopped. Sending money home was never charity. It was family architecture. Number 7. The 2 sets of books. In 1981, a liquor store owner in South Los Angeles named Chun-sik kept 2 ledgers. The first was for the accountant, clean, legal, tax-ready. The second was handwritten in Korean and tracked every transaction, every supplier relationship, every informal debt owed and held, every Geh obligation. The second ledger was the real balance sheet, tracking assets American accounting had no category for. Supplier favors, Geh standing, wholesale credit. The 1992 Los Angeles uprising destroyed over 2,300 Korean-owned businesses. Many owners who lost everything were rebuilt, in part, by that relational ledger, by community members who honored obligations no insurance company could replace. The second ledger was the balance sheet that actually balanced. Number 6. Presentation was infrastructure, not vanity. In 1979, a restaurant worker in New York named Mi Kyung spent $47 on a white blouse, a black skirt, and leather shoes. She wore them exclusively to her shift. She maintained them carefully for 6 years, repairing rather than replacing. Total spending on work clothing between 1979 and 1985, $47. Her American coworkers replaced work clothing twice annually on average. Korean immigrant workers treated professional presentation as infrastructure. A well-maintained uniform communicated reliability. It also eliminated the daily decision around appearance. Fast fashion collapsed the economics of clothing maintenance in the 1990s. When replacement costs dropped below repair cost, the habit dissolved. The $47 blouse, worn for 6 years, outperformed most investments made that decade. Number 5. The association dues were never skipped. In 1976, a shop owner in Koreatown named Chae-won paid $25 monthly to the Korean American Grocers Association, KAGRO, founded that same year. He had never met most of the other members. He joined because his supplier told him to. Within 18 months, KAGRO had negotiated buying arrangements that lowered Chae-won's wholesale cost on 3 products by 7 to 14%. His annual savings exceeded $600, 24 times his dues. Korean immigrant business owners understood collective action as financial infrastructure. Association membership declined among second-generation Korean Americans as individual professional advancement replaced community-based strategy. The buying power quietly dissolved with it. The $25 dues were the cheapest leverage a small business could buy. Number 4. The Geh Record was the community's credit score. In 1980, a laundry worker in Chicago named Young Ok wanted to start a vending route. She had no credit history, no collateral, and no relationship with any American bank. She presented her Geh Record to a Korean-owned savings association. 31 consecutive months, $35 each, not one missed. They extended her a $1,200 equipment loan on that record alone. Inside the community, the Geh Record translated to real capital access long after any external system acknowledged it. The Geh was the credit bureau that never charged a fee. Number 3. Never co-sign what you cannot absorb. In 1985, a shopkeeper in Flushing named Hyun Tae co-signed a $14,000 equipment loan for his cousin's dry cleaning business. The cousin defaulted in 1987. Hyun Tae paid $14,000 over 29 months to clear the debt. He never co-signed another document in his life. He told every person who asked, "Your signature is your credit. Your credit is your business. Your business is your family." The Geh worked because each member's liability was defined and fixed from the start. Open-ended obligations carried existential risk. Co-signing requests from extended family created some of the most significant wealth destruction in second-generation Korean-American households. A signature given out of loyalty could cost a lifetime of work. Number 2. The garden was the grocery budget. In 1972, a homemaker in Garden Grove, California, named Bong Soon, planted Korean radishes, perilla leaves, green onions, and chili peppers on her back patio. 4 whiskey barrels. No garden bed needed. She estimated her container garden reduced her weekly grocery bill by $8.40, $436 per year in 1972 dollars. Korean immigrant households maintained kitchen gardens with a specificity American suburban gardening rarely matched. The goal was ingredient sovereignty, growing the exact vegetables Korean cooking required, unavailable in most American stores and expensive at Korean specialty shops. Homeowner association regulations in the 1980s pushed many of these gardens indoors. When Korean grocery chains expanded nationally in the 1990s, the economic urgency for home growing faded. The back patio planter was the first hedge against grocery inflation. Here is the number that stayed with every Korean immigrant family through every decade and every crisis. In the 1970s, Korean immigrant families in manufacturing cities carried consumer debt equal to 9% of annual income. Their American neighbors at the same wage level, 41%. The difference was not income or education. It was one rule, applied without exception. Number 1. Spend less than you earn every week, without exception. That is the entire system. Not the Geh, not the 2 ledgers, not the flea market table. None of the 19 habits above work without this one at the center. Soon-hee, the line worker in Detroit we met at the beginning, earned $247.13 every 2 weeks in 1978. She spent $183.40 of it. The remainder went into the Geh Envelope, the church offering, and the envelope marked stores she had been filling since 1975. She was not running a financial system. She was running one principle, applied without exception, and 19 other habits arranged themselves around it. She spent less than she earned, every paycheck, for 31 years. When she retired in 2002, she owned a dry cleaning shop on the east side of Detroit and a 2-unit rental property in Hamtramck. She had contributed to a savings account since 1974. Her Geh circle had grown from 12 women at the Ford plant to 30 members. She did not retire on her Ford pension. She retired on the system. None of these rules required a credit score. None required a bank willing to serve them. Several existed precisely because the banks would not. The Geh did not appear in Korean immigrant neighborhoods because someone thought it was clever. It appeared because the door to the bank kept closing, and the community built its own door. These were not the habits of poor people. They were the habits of people who understood one thing completely. The margin between what you earn and what you spend is the only number that truly matters. Every system, every circle, every envelope, every ledger exists only to protect that margin. Pick one rule from this list, just one. Try it this week. Come back and tell me in the comments which one you chose. And if your family had a version of the Geh, a rotating saving circle, any name, any community, drop it below. Every immigrant group had one. Every culture called it something different. Every one of them worked.